Samalo tashi tile, ani chajanone, sinzi ngani samalo nintawani tashi tile, Julie.
So I wanted to say Tashidele, which means welcome to everybody who's here physically, in person, and also all those joining us online. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart that you've come. Thank you so much. Today mostly seems to be like a discussion, sort of back and forth. So all of you are very learned, very wonderful. So any of my answers do not hit the mark, don't satisfy your wishes, I apologize in advance.
Simna shidini ya thang, ani chi la dreba ya huyo thang, tumbo yung thang. That's all. Chi, maso godan ro de titanda injires.
So perhaps the sort of purpose of having such a discussion and an exchange, a dialogue, is that in the world now, ourselves and also others face a lot of struggles and a lot of challenges in our society now. It's a lot of fear in people's minds and a lot of struggles that they face. And so in order to reduce the fear, help them overcome their struggles, and also establish a genuine peace and happiness in their minds, all of us, ourselves and everyone else we share this society with, I think that is probably a good foundation for our discussion.
Kola de sungjo, tachimbo yung thang, nang semjen desu de, tumbo da chamber tone, ani naso, mise nonsjo de, anga zo changmagi jawata, manam picho do koyan rapziros.
And I think our shared hope and shared aspirations are that the environment that we share, the external environment, will be protected, and all the living beings that live inside this environment will be able to figure out how to live in harmony with each other. So that can be perhaps a common hope and a common aspiration that we have.
참말로와다 동해면대가 대화대가 참말로와 지버러스 아주 자와 강치와디 아직 대리 된다라 집이 깨서레스 이나양 아주 동해 멍부지 미 아세조이만 인데데 다 왜니시다고 차려스.
So I think all of us are equal in wanting to thrive and flourish and not wanting to suffer. And so our aim is always the sort of pursuit of happiness and flourishing. But suffering seems to always get in our way. And this is a suffering that we also create. We create our own suffering.
맞아 출루 예와메바 미리 예와메바 따뜻블라 예와메바 잠블린 콜라디글라 참말로와 제외톤 펜지 종레친 되니 네 미세디지 도단치야데 개청을 해 챙도스.
So having a truly sort of unbiased and non-sectarian attitude towards every spiritual tradition, every religious tradition, every ethnicity, every walk of life, a truly unbiased and non-sectarian, unpreferential and unprejudiced attitude towards all beings in the world, and recognizing that that love, love and peace and happiness is something that all of us need, and it's almost like a basic right. We should speak up for that right.
나서 밀라 텐지 안지 시럽 피도 좋아. 인지 피도 좋아. 이거 되거스. 아니 디 안지 다 롱주 마시바 있나? 테니 인지다 시럽 여바 있나? 니모단 제데바 디게 무슨 페미시 녀그스는 어떻게 차되게 도스?
We could say that all people have innate sort of exceptional insight, exceptional compassion as an innate part of their nature. However, not recognizing that innate part of their nature, then we get confused and we create so many problems for ourselves. Suffering happens in that lack of recognition.
나서 돌링데야 잠을 찔러 해야지. 그런 남바 타와지 참아야지. 아니 그세리 저아 들으나?
So may our discussion and our dialogue unfold in this wish for peace and happiness to spread widely over this earth. And with that as a motivation, please live a long and healthy life and feel free to ask away.
So Khandro, thank you for that setting of the motivation. So pertinent for us today. Thank you for coming to Wisdom Publications again. It is such a pleasure and privilege to have you here. And I know I speak for all of us that we came here very excited to see Khandro. Really. And I can feel the energy. Everyone was telling me this, yeah? Really. And why is this the case? Because we really want to know about dependent origination. We really want to know about bodhicitta. This is in our hearts. And we come to Khandro open. And could Khandro please share some words on dependent origination and bodhicitta?
Thank you very much. That's very kind. So dependent origination or interdependence is a very important thing, isn't it? Everything that we experience as a positive and negative, all the good and the bad that we perceive is solely experienced as a result of dependent origination. Because all phenomena in this world solely arise due to the process of dependent origination, then everything that's sort of good and positive in our lives and our experience is dependently originated. Everything that's painful, negative, and difficult in our lives likewise arises solely through the process of dependent origination. And therefore, if we can understand the way in which the good arises, in other words, positive conditions coming together, yielding in a conducive way, yielding their result, and we can understand this process that everything is in mutual dependence with something. Everything relies on other things, even for its identity, for its definition. And based on that kind of fundamental interdependence, it's only when conducive circumstances come together that progress occurs. All the development and progress we see in the world is solely the result of conducive conditions being brought together in a particular way. The right causes with the right conditions. Also, it is only through conducive circumstances that our struggles and obstacles will be cleared away. And so everything is interdependence.
Tenje chara kanje shewa ina. Ai di dane jonje namja. Tenje changmo ni su ngani. Ani tarwa zoye de tupju yowa. Tene chanjugi sim zoye de zachimu zi jiju yowa. Tene chue tamji rangjung niluk tongwe tone. Ani dongye zoye de zawani ngeba zo tuyaji chajen junju yowa. Changwa 아니 땡데 남자 데코나니 된지 체와이나 아니 셈디 자침부 고양부 빙서 자침부 체인스레스.
Yes. And so based on, we could say, subtle and coarse forms of interdependence, then the infinite play of cause and effect unfolds in these different subtle and coarse dimensions of interdependence. And so on the very subtle level, it is only through subtle interdependence that we can come to understand that freedom, inner freedom or liberation, is actually possible. It's something that is possible to attain or experience. And we can also understand through subtle interdependence the preciousness and value of bodhicitta. So all of the phenomena in nature, the true nature of all phenomena, to come to recognize that underlying nature also occurs through an increasing understanding of subtle interdependence. And the possibility that suffering itself can be completely exhausted, completely dissolved, is also a factor of understanding subtle interdependence. And so, in brief, everything is interdependence. And this is equal or equivalent to understanding suchness, or the underlying nature of reality. And if we can come to understand that, our mind can become very, very vast and open.
Tenje ni tsungani she yongde ani su lo debo. Ngoi ni tsuji ko kenin chigirwa. Ngoi ni tsuji tebalaina gajin rowa. Gajin de ngoi ni tsuji kenin chiwache. Dene semzangbu layadang chanjugi sem laya dezudi ani jumzenzi tenje hahuwaina ani ngazu nangni matuiwaji gindu mambutu hahu girwa.
So, in terms of interdependence, on an individual level, to the degree that we can understand interdependence, then we'll be able to accept many of the challenges that we face in life more gracefully. And, you know, qualities like faith and trust, like joy in our mind, like an uplifted, wholesome mind, will also flourish all the way to the sort of supreme mind state of bodhicitta. And so all of this comes from an understanding of interdependence. Also, through exploring interdependence, we'll understand many ways in which the way that we perceive reality is at odds with the way reality truly is.
Tenje tone ani lo zola ne bado. Hachi simje thamje la zeba chigore silana. Ani jumzen kare silana katin chibe ton. Ani tida namba kundu rangi samsula ani ngara rangi jendangda ngarangi tiyaji samsuju yoderowa. Nitsula ani ngasuye zubudeina hamayi te yanjure. 아니 지 롭종이나 갱갱이 대조래 Then Khandro to 그 땅면다 맞서 데빌론je 용수 저거데 이제 sem진을 때네 용대와지 때네 용대와지 체네 용대와지 대송장 아니 네 탐지로와 아니지 가르도록 나랑이 까진 섭고 와 있나 까진 써야지 아니 그래 중재 양타고 저래들
Mm. 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 That's right. Mm. And so, the body that we have, we all understand that we rely on our physical bodies. We also understand that love is an essential thing, and the importance of kindness. However, in our mind, the way we ordinarily think and relate is very much to identify with ourselves and be sort of caught up in our own world, our own perceptions. My body, me, I am, I exist. We're sort of caught up in those sort of perspectives. That's the way things appear, and that's our own experience of it. However, the way things truly are, if we can see them more as they just objectively are, and we explore our own body. What is this body? It's just a result of basic coming together of our mother and father, our education that we have, whatever education we've received, comes from the kindness of our teachers. It's given to us. All of the things that we rely on to survive, the food, the nourishment, the clothes, the money, everything we have actually comes from others. All of it comes from others. It relies on others. It was given to us by others. And therefore, the urge of kindness, the urge to consider others' kindness is based on solid reasoning.
네 쟁행바지 양 지대나라 마가베지 쟁직 떡소자마르지 체바이나 델라이나 양 능수의 니수의 된다하고와이나 데니 수수기 가리주고 델라지 체네 셰당만어 디 강에 동의기 람가라 만로이 탑 데니 세바체야다 닝제체야다 박삼체야다 데니지 가르주로 미다바 동의랑지 그래서 상망한지 침바이나 아니 파친 주 라야디 양제 독자들도 상망로 랑 타르바다 탐지심비 공마 드야라 셈바 장보다 셈바 장보 대야지 자신도 주주용야지 차용도 안 늦으디 할리비 탑시 자치 모르는와
Mm. Mhm. Mm. Yeah. And so also, the difficult conditions in the world, the struggles, and the rough things that we have to experience and see, all of the hordes of negative thoughts that can come, throngs of negative thoughts. If we can understand a little bit about the way things appear and the way they truly are underneath, then this will benefit us tremendously in not reacting with anger to those negative conditions. And suddenly so many skillful means open up to us. Patience opens up, compassion, sort of an elevated, wholesome, inspired mind. And if we can understand the true nature of subtle impermanence, the true nature of suffering also, and then we can start to engage in the six paramitas, the six perfections. And then whatever difficult conditions there are, we can understand also that liberation and omniscience are still possible. And the way that these come about is through a very wholesome mind and a very honest mind. And so many of these precious, skillful means become available to us.
나선 된데리다. 그래서 셈바장부 전주심 무스다 수수기 라네터 째라 아니 셰프 피도 중하기 아 냠네즈메나 한가서 레와 동반로 내지 다 세바zam보라 가진 치와 잠다 아니지 디기 초라가 가능한 치와 잠들이마도 되니 랑기 줄라 아니 세바 정보다 정보 템발라 아니 가서 짐바 아티 당지 마리바 라야디 라 네고도 딘네발라양 최탐지 땡진 제와 이나 아니 짐바 아티 제거요 말했어 땡땡 추니 인자네 지우랑진 주르랑진 아니지 그 강야롱 망해봐 인장 때라 땅진지 로 숙심보다 레도지 로 숙심보지 아티 찡돼야 돼 너지지 통송 아니나 아니 얘네 셈바 자침볼라야 돼 로카포 파 초토비안도 들어왔어
Excellent. So then we want to, we want to be good. We all want to be good. We all want to cultivate the altruistic mind of bodhicitta, and we want to practice. But without prajna, without insight and wisdom, then this can stay like an empty hope, just mere empty words. It's like just we're delighting in that possibility. We're inspired, but actually deep within our mind, the true honesty and subtle wisdom necessary to bring that forth may not occur. Why is that? It's because deep within our mind, we have this habit of concretizing, of fixating, clinging onto the sense of self in a very tight way, giving it more reality and truth than it naturally has. And so that's what actually harms us, is our own concretizing our sense of self. But if we understand interdependence, if we understand that all things are just this manifestation of interdependence, and that inherent in anything is its own falling apart, and its own change is part of its nature, and that nothing is really certain. Therefore, we're not really sure about anything and how it will go. And so if we can come to understand that, then we can finally see the fault in clinging and concretizing to our sense of self in that tight, certain way. And when we can see that, then we can, the path, so to speak, towards a very open, flexible, spacious frame of mind opens to us.
나서
Thank you, Rinpoche. So, Rinpoche, I wanted to ask a question about, well, everyone came here today because they want to be in your presence as well. So we want to understand about Khandro, we want to understand about bodhicitta, but people came to be in your presence. So I want to ask about the power of presence in a world where information is becoming more and more at our fingertips. And there's a worry that people maybe won't go to teachers because they have all the answers on the computer. So if we can start talking about what is the power of presence when you're in Neljorma Rinpoche, when you're in his presence, or, I was talking to Machu Rika just yesterday. He said Dugo Khyentse Rinpoche's presence used to fill the room. What is this? What is this presence? And how important is it? Yeah.
Kongichuasana dati mimombo kapsegere darin wone dila ngusu pepladi kaisana lama ngusu chendoyos. Tiki kolat tiko trigadoa. Ani lama ngusu jayagi pento pareres. Kaisana dingsa dragyagi gone rat sheja mombodu noglela. Ani dragyala la sheja mombodu. Ani mikasheti di ngene lama ngus jego mena kozo dogba sa chokroa ini dati chokshenda ne dati lama peyapo Khandro Rinpoche na shin Jawa Rinpoche na shin dati ni kasan kon machuri kada ne kisha shebare ani diga Khyentse Rinpoche gi ngus jedu segi mixegi nawa, mixegi sorwa, mixegi hakwa just jungsons. Chesan digi kola chigde karchine ngazo ngusu lama jegores.
나서 다 lama ngus jia de pe kechen bo insa des.
Mm.
I think it's very important to actually meet lamas.
다 ngazo jawa doji chang rawa razina. Da devi sanje, maobi sanje, tadavi sanje, diriji zabaling de la zachi ma shuzi pe iris.
So if we think, for example, about His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, then as a representative of all the Buddhas in the past and all the Buddhas in the future and all the Buddhas of the present, he, actually appeared in form on this earth.
Deni deda deji da zabaling de lama zachi bo mambo iris.
And these days, there are many precious teachers, precious lamas on this earth.
Ngazo simjen zoe de ta rawa mewi nyumo tuksumji jiwando pangyan juziris.
Say that us sentient beings have no real freedom and independence. We're enslaved by our own thoughts and afflictive emotions, our passions.
다 lama sanjin kona bayina kusum tu ta pe misi zachimbo ta samji michaga zachimbo inza jejiya da sung tuyaji nani goba de hal lebe kechimbo inza res.
And these good lamas, their body, their speech, and their minds are endowed with great qualities, great blessings. So to see them actually, to see their face and to hear them speak has tremendous benefit.
De lama jenji ni tambi choyina de wang long menga se deni ya sanje ni jiba sirjinya ta ani para machiga digi tone ma yuya laina na jenji sung tu ne ani ji karso di ra de de tumo ma yuwa de chandong seres.
So, the lamas, the reason why they become sort of not just ordinary is because of receiving the pith instructions that come through a long lineage, unbroken lineage, in fact, from the Buddha all the way down to the present time. And these unbroken lineages receiving the pith instructions, the empowerments, the instructions, the transmissions that sustain the lineage. Receiving those is why they have become more than ordinary.
Nga suji nyumonde meba chiyata juba tuyala lama jeje lama sung tu ani longa yisumgi karchukur miki jubu churune sungde sanga doji tikbegi ani wangungi churumaru hadala jirang tikpa pangdang gewa drupdang ani je chemo ngani ma sung dendri chewa ina ani ngaranso ina ani ji karchukur longa yisumi ngani tepa tanang pe 미세기 ndrebatse yoamebatse yongdeyazi chagoyorese.
So the reason we need to connect with teachers directly, the physical presence of teachers, and hear them speak and teach is in order to reduce our own afflictive emotions. Reduce the confusion, destructive, afflictive emotions in our own mind, and to tame our own body and speech and mind. And so to develop a kind of pure perception and trust and faith is so incredibly valuable on the part of the student.
Tene nga tsogi mandebi dongen de la yana nyumon de tara mo ziredres. Nani nyumon rakwa la, nani shisha chue rakwa. Nyumon chamo pangcha la, shisha chue chamo. Didisong tatu, ane nga tsola simi rangji. Da yoseba laba inanda, ishe laba inanda, ngundu din gyurya che dola, ane da shisha manyuwazi. 송영들 라메 예니 마송네 냥네 지야데 빼미시 그바 첨부 요소래.
That's that. So, when we think about the afflictions we have, afflictive emotions, they come in many coarse and subtle varieties. And so the coarse afflictive emotions are connected to coarse perceptions, connected to our senses, for example, and ordinary physical sense objects. And we have a lot of coarse afflictive emotions on that level. We also have many subtle afflictive emotions that are more subtle than that. And the coarse ones need to be removed using coarser methods, and the subtle ones need to be worked with very subtle methods. And in the end, where this is going, finally, is towards the actual nature of the mind itself, which could be called yeshe, it could be called primordial wisdom knowing, could also call it uesel, which means luminosity. So that needs to be actualized, needs to be rendered evident. And to actually directly see a lama, to come in the presence of a lama with these kinds of aims, then becomes extremely meaningful with great purpose.
맞아 자베 잠블리 시샤 아니지 롭종데 시사네 디거레스 최지 시샤데 장네 시와 잠지 디거 말레스 아니 디 통보 지 가지고 튼중 고하지 되니 삼중 고하 되니 검중 고하 대 참말로 쯔지 로 되니 쯔미 로 용도 되나 된디게 자침보 심주와 태와 인장 아니지 동의게 자와 릭스 주와다 준되니다 냥되니 셈이 인자네 디 주와 돼야라 아니 빼샤나나이나 자침보 송주여 봐이나 가베 망보용 그레스 가봐다 배봐
Picha, kichedo.
다 항다라 가지고로 돼. 인지 미니 땡고 그래서.
When we think about learning or studying, when it comes to worldly types of learning or study, then it's enough to just take the course, learn the material, get your degree, and then you're done. But that's not enough in the Dharma. This doesn't work the same way in the Dharma. It's not enough to just learn the stuff in your intellect and then get your degree and then you're done. In the Dharma, then it's a long process. We need the special insight that comes from learning. We need the special insight that comes from inner reflection and contemplation. And we need the special insight that comes from direct experience in practice, in meditation. And we need to begin with effortful engagement in these areas until it becomes effortless. And what we really need in the end is to transform the mind. That's what this is all about. Because at its root, suffering is based in the mind. The mind is what experiences happiness. The mind is what suffers. So it all comes back to the mind, and the mind needs to transform in our Dharma practice. And so we think of all the effort we put into material success. So of course we need to rely on a Lama for the Dharma.
데르탕 아니 단죽드스데 따와이나 빼자치 버레스 아니야 키바 찬도카오 레스 아니 추바 찬도카오 마레스 추바 차야라 원니 라마 땡고레 팅도스.
So, books are wonderful. And we need them. And we should study them. And through studying them, we can become very learned, or almost very learned. But it won't, through books alone, we won't become a chupa, a real spiritual practitioner, a real Dharma practitioner. For that, to become a real Dharma practitioner, I think we need a teacher. We need a Lama to guide us.
추바라나 아니다. 시라피드 중원 인지피드 중원 잔주쌤 돈이 나와대 줄리 지오로와. 당지 말이 바다랑 진지 매봐서 그러와. 디 맞아봐 이난데니 취바 차그 말와. 당진데 진진데 매봐 맞으나 맞아 취바 말했어. 아니 양 시유여 와이나 케바 차그러와. 케바이나 취바이 차그요 말했어.
So if we want to become a Dharma practitioner, a real spiritual practitioner, then we need to awaken the inner insight or wisdom potential inside of us. We need to develop exceptional compassion from the inside. We need to actually realize emptiness, and we need to actually realize bodhicitta. We also need to reduce our self-clinging, and we need to reduce our self-cherishing and concretizing the sense of self. Otherwise, I don't think we could call ourselves a real Dharma practitioner. In fact, if we don't reduce this concretizing of the sense of self and the cherishing of the sense of self, then we haven't become a Dharma practitioner yet. So from books, we may become learned, but there's no guarantee just because we're learned that we will become a true Dharma practitioner.
그래서 다야가라 페라지나 공 노르바다 lokpanzimada ta matwada de changmalo da namju sheyin rang mar chue sheyin ne dinde gi ni chu ngane jebaina ani gom jabaina ngaso gom la de komji de yare komji de yade ani shesha de ani ngaso yi dongi gi zawa 당지 말이 바다 랑 진진이래 데니데 매바 다 데니라 만에 위제 데니 가서 곰지 자와이나 내가 내서 좀 대스지 가르치고 다들 내서 좀 내가 릴렉스 저러다 다 한다 다가스라우즈레 마도 오늘 탈심 버심노라 자침보 심 고양보다 아니 심노라 더샤시다 용르 줘야다 데니지 셈바zambu 마르 줘야지 탑시라요 말이스 디탑 고야라 아니 당지 랑진진 데니라 뇌고 그러와 디뇌야라 이 시샤노나 송저와 이나 마솔라 캄다 메바 자미나서 레담 박차 자미나서 요레스 데니 라마 데니 라메기 이니 딜라 캄다 메바 참비기 아니 야 칼레라 데니 가르쳐 그러고 최 탐지니 니룩 땡은 펩 데니 당진라 뇌바체 데니 당진라 뇌네 데니 타르바 ngozhi 수수기 타르바 제외 연대지 통야지 짜침보지 통연대 안에 수수 가신지 대바 당와 쪼와 용거와 타르바 톰도 일로 제거와 데네 랑 톱주여와 짜침보지 하고도 카팔로와이나 심제 탐질 디능진지 아니 조아지 죽나나 배 코르데바데 코르바데라 닝제지 잠되다 젠드 로체네 쩨마마이 베지 찬주기 쌤 째네 아니 나서데 젠진진데 라나 메바지 용대야지 차그여와 내 상말로와 되니 퇴성 검수 미야 맞춰봤으니 라메지 맹아를 뜨니 아니 공고야 인자네 달라마 때한테 신도 개체 버리샤 챙기도
That's So, in an ordinary context of worldly study, then, we can make sort of quick evaluations about others. That person doesn't understand. That person's incorrect about this, or this person has that limit of understanding, or something like that. We could make such judgments, such observations when it comes to ordinary worldly fields of study. But with the Dharma, it's not like that. It's different because the Dharma, the principal method is called Gom in Tibetan, which we usually translate as meditation. But actually, Gom really means Gomchi. It means to habituate, to familiarize with something, to become familiar with something. And the purpose of becoming familiar with something is that it reduces our concretization of our sense of self, and it reduces the cherishing of that sense of self. If we do not sort of reduce and minimize those two forces within us, then what our meditation really is a temporary rest. It's just a way to relax a little bit. It's just relaxing. It's not going to make our mind really open. It's not going to bring forth the inner qualities in our mind. And it will not become an actual method to reduce our craving and our aversion. It won't become a method for that. For that, in order for it to become a method for that, we must reduce that concretizing of the sense of self and the cherishing of that sense of self. We have to diminish those. We have to reduce those. And all of us, different types of people, have so many different personalities, so many different interests, so many different proclivities. And so when we rely on a teacher or a lama, the lama can, in accordance with what kind of personality and proclivities we have, slowly introduce us to the teachings, slowly help us resolve what is the true nature, actually, to resolve that, and slowly reduce our own self-clinging, this concretizing of the sense of self, and then introduce liberation, introduce the possibility of freedom. And then the student can start to get quite excited about that possibility. They can rejoice in it, get excited about it, get interested in it. And then that leads to an actual sustained wish to attain it. And with that, then, it's natural to expand outwards and understand that potential or extend that wish for all other beings as well, seeing that all the beings of the six realms are just circling endlessly in this cycle of confusion that we call samsara. So that then can allow for genuine, uncontrived bodhicitta to start to occur. So basically, to walk this path of the Dharma, we need to study, we need to contemplate, and we need to meditate correctly. And for that, we need pith instructions, oral instructions. And so I think it's so important that we rely on a Lama.
Thank you, Rinpoche. I have one more question, and then we'll go to the audience questions.
Bless up.
Questions like this. So we talked about the presence of the Lama and the need to be in the presence of the Lama, and we get very inspired. And then when we're in the presence of the Rinpoche, we feel like our mind becomes very calm, right? But then I'm wondering what we do after that, because Rinpoche came 2 years ago, then everyone feels special, everyone feel ready and a great chopa. But then the next day, and then after 1 year, after 2 years, Rinpoche comes back. Then I think, well, I had so much advice from Rinpoche. Then what did I actually do? So I don't want to do that next time, right? So I'm wondering for this menga or pith instruction, like tomorrow when I wake up, so today feeling very special. We all are feeling very special, right? We feel very calm, beautiful, yeah? But tomorrow, maybe Rinpoche can give us a pith instruction for bringing this to tomorrow.
Gotta say it. Any lama ngosi jeju jinlap momodoa, any kind of like sumbanachi, jinlap momodo, any lotrut soyi, any nang rangi semnala, shide, mombo yongedu, depaya, longedu, yiche yongedu, that yenten mombo yongedu, lama peyabo, jaya, the Khandro Rinpoche na, jaya na shino. 이나야 칼레 라마야 페보라 아니 가서 카디니야 라마단 냠드 슈토기민도 아니 라 미체나나 칼레 텐서기 진랍 마드로가도아 아니 랑기 트루파다 아티 미체나나 티 추사맘보도 양사맘보도 제상공기 추아사나 다 드링 가서 무수 아니 Khandro Rinpoche 제네 가서 차산 시대다 이체다 나때 윤텐 몸보 중그랬대 다 상니 가서 무수 제야 야마레 제사 무 된속이 윤텐 무트네 경와라 한제스 체거레스 상니 쇼게 가레 체거레스
맹랑.
Bless up, bless up. Ngata lama sichi mare ta chunju. Yende chunju res.
And she said, first of all, I'm not some kind of great lama. I just have some small qualities.
Ta ina yang aso dindi ki yang one susu ki zawe lama chila mejo da didi na ta zambuling shesha chamala lakwa na la yoris tisa. Yeah.
So these days, we each have our own teachers, whoever your root teacher may be. These days, all the knowledge in the world is in the palm of your hands.
Dini jundu susu ki lama la chi tiba tisa lama nyewo zi goya de peki chimore.
In terms of continuous practice, of having a lama that you can, have some continuous ability to ask questions to is very helpful.
Ngachu misi nangla lama teni ringdang chea de da gom nyamle cheba ina, nyamle laba ina da, lobjong laba ina da, and zo de simba zambu kala, ndo goya zire.
I think in terms of relying on a teacher, and whether we're talking about a spiritual context or just a worldly context, we all rely on teachers to learn things. And I think that the key thing in a relationship with the teacher is just like a wholesome mind.
Mi changma lo la simba zambu la ya ji sarun rao, jun rao de changma yue de rewa.
I think we can agree that everyone has the seed of a very wholesome mind within them.
Da di ya, ngundu ya, yaku zu yung ya la, teni shesha diya da lama diya de, yinba song zang, ngundu chane nam jundu ne, nga su shi chö dang jikden zo ne, hajang pa ta ringbo ma yinba, ane ji suzu ki nyamlen chewa ina, chimzang dang, tetsu di hajang ta ringbo ma yinba, ngundu chane chamba dang zewe nga ne, jang tuya shirab ka che ne, nini, 강의 제야당 다리 주와 나지 니츠 가르지 중앙이나 참말로와 땡진 제가 중앙에 되는 동반이듯이 라이도와 땡중 많이 봐 추가 요 말에 슬라이도와 대이칠 동반 많이 봐 추가 요 말에 아니 차당이 로지야 참말로와 땡중지 대 코난이 니츠 인자네 아직 대 참말로와 주르랑이 동의랑이 람상 심나 각급체니 짐바 아티 쇼용도 람상 맹아들라 아니 디능지 요 말아 출발이 출발이 출발 여장 나가서 내가 잡아지 그래 참마 짐발이 출발이 6시 세계 말아
맞아. So I think that with although we have this seed of wholesomeness inside all of us, in order for it to kind of develop and come out, that we need knowledge, understanding, and we need teachers to sort of help guide us as well. And these aren't, we shouldn't think of these as very far apart, like our spiritual life and the world. There shouldn't be a big distance between our life in the world and our spiritual life, so to speak. They shouldn't be far away from each other. Likewise, our way in our family and our way in the world, they shouldn't be far apart. We shouldn't have a big gulf there. In order to achieve this, we really need like deep understanding. We need insight. We need prajna, or insight, to open from inside. And as I am fond of saying, then any kind of struggle or challenge that we meet, we'll be able to handle and work with it. Because everything is just the confluence of conditions. Everything is just a dependent appearance, a confluence of conditions coming together. And so as is taught in the teachings, there's not a single phenomena that is not dependently originated. Therefore, there is not a single phenomena that is not empty. And if we can deeply understand this, then the mind that craves, the mind that feels aversion, can be reduced. And this comes through understanding. It comes through understanding that the nature of things is to change constantly, that the nature of things, therefore, has suffering within them. And so if we understand that, then we'll also understand we don't need to react with such fixation towards everything, concretizing everything we experience and fixating on it in that tight kind of way, because it doesn't exist in the way we fixate on it to be. And that is what confusion is. And we have to come to understand that confusion is confusion. We have to see it for what it is. And yet, we need to understand that, but to say it's confusion, also, we're not being told to just throw it all away. We're not being told that either.
맞아. 지 가져는 짐바 찡찡 라야디 템바 주바디 최 탐지 가르스 띵주 많이 바 템바 주바디 지안디 마체스 디 노르레 송그레마도 나서 커바데 야고 마 타테 방슈 타최 최지 relate 나는데 나장 하곰 세교 말 데세나 하장 노차레
So what we're being told is our error, is our fixation, is our clinging, our concretizing habit. Taking everything in this world, which is an interdependent mere appearance, and concretizing it as if it was really and truly real. That's our mistake. We're being told in the Dharma to stop doing that. Don't do that. Stop giving things real and true existence that don't exist in that way. That is the instruction. We're not being told that samsara is a terrible thing. You need to throw it away. You need to abandon it. You need to not do anything and not engage with anything and just stay alone in your room and visualize deities and recite mantras and sit by yourself and don't do anything. That's not what we're saying. I actually think that's a big mistake.
싫어 표시에 당스 데니 띵중 처몰라 아니 가져로 제주치스 데니 띵중 싫어 표시에 당 띵중 처몰 제주치나 아니 레 준비 줘야 될 로메 버지 통그레스 데니 셈바 장보다 장보 줘야 돼 자침부 쉬우지 좀전도 된 버지 하고 통그러와스
Yeah. So what we need to do actually is use our native intelligence. We have to use our faculty of insight within us. We have to understand interdependence or dependent origination and use it. We have to use our own intelligence or insight to search for answers and resolve things with our own inner insight and intelligence. And if we do that, and if we engage in a real search with our own inner insight and intelligence, we will come to see that karmic causality, the realm of karmic cause and effect, is undeceiving. It is an undeceiving truth. We will come to see that. And when we come to see that, then also we will see how important it is to have a very honest mind, a very clear and honest mind. And this is based in reason. It's based in actual reason.
내가 가르치에 들어와있나 내가 지 죽주인치 야제당 내 참말로 끊는데 이제는 펜비 상반 바지 지야 정쟁치 되려다 데니 디 레가시 시라치 두기면도나 아니 셈바상보 심진 탐지 동행다 전에 지마로 대화다 톱나 지마로 전에 셈바 자진부 고양부 셈진 라야지 로디 출대바 임바지 하거나 에코니지 지야디 점쟁이로와 셈이 라지니 요새와 지만나는 요르바 송도와 셈진 남네 산진데 왼자 로후 치메집 chimate ser sanji ni se son do
That's
di nga zo jumjen chimbo zi tongya yore shesha gyula ina di nga zo tongye zo ya di ko juro wi rangjin zi yin zang tse mebe dewa la ya di chanju ki sem da tongni dawa di za chimbo yin zang di di la goba jumjen tongna ngone chane chukbo zena chukbo zangbo zena zangbo hale ba re do
awesome. So in any project, in any endeavor that we engage in, any kind of work project, then our motivation, our intention can become only the benefit of others. We can bring only motivated by benefiting others into whatever activity we engage in. And, you know, if we're in a situation where we aren't doing that many projects in the world, or we don't have the capacity to do many projects in the world, then we can also generate a very wholesome mind state, really wishing that all beings can experience happiness, really wishing that all beings can be free of suffering, developing a very open, a kind, spacious outlook. And this is based in reason, because the only reason beings suffer is they have confusion in their minds. We can see very clearly the confusion in the minds of beings is what causes their suffering. So there's a reason to stimulate compassion based on that. And it is taught that the nature of the mind of all sentient beings is luminous. It's luminosity. And the obscurations, the veils or obscurations that cover it are temporary. And so as the famous teaching goes, all beings are in fact Buddhas, but they are temporarily obscured by their own confusion and obscurations. When those temporary stains or veils are removed, then they achieve Buddhahood and reveal what they always were. And so, as you can see, these teachings are based in excellent reasoning, excellent logic, in fact. They're very logical. And if we can understand these, then our view, the view of bodhicitta, in fact, the view of this altruistic mind of bodhicitta, the view of emptiness, has a great purpose. It's based in reason. And if we can get those, if we can generate those in our own mind, then we could say amongst all the forms of wealth that exist in this world, that is the greatest wealth. Amongst all the goodness that exists in this world, that is also the greatest goodness.
sim rangjung da changbo kala ani ta khomya de pekhi chamore
Sim rangjung
rangjung da changbo
changbo
namju sim changbo la zero ani je lega khawa lewa ina so shira pyeje dang di ningje samna dang wa ina de nga so naksem ne sem lokta chado de yong maro wa an di chungna ani nga so kangi re da ani thangboji korba chikthur namdo shar namdo I namdo ten nam도 요보차 되는 가서 소소소소라 되니 가지고 그러다 톱슈 멤버 추는 매봐 아니 이치 추는 매봐 레와 톱범 바직 차니 년가 쳔부터 차용도 내 정말 영향 조진 가지고 그러잖아 랑랑 하마군 소소소 하고와 제와 있나 내 정말 랑sem기 남도 이게 쭈야 저러 남도 어디 마시 심 고양부 심 난가다부 데라 아니 나서 코르바데 자카르타 찜바다 야 칙돼야 되라 아니 참바 제와 닌제 학상 딘디 기간에 참말로라 찌찌라 이시치 찌찌라 펜바지 대바다 다나 닌제다 학상 장니로나 이 강에 이거 말해 강에야 아니 대왕은 저저로
음. 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 That's So we have to come to understand that the mind is like a self-occurring thing. And also, just on an ordinary level, the importance of just basic honesty, just being honest and straightforward. And if we can bring that into all of our work, all of our activities, make use of our native insight, the innate insight we have, the innate compassion that we have, then things will go very, very well. Because then qualities like, competitiveness, covetousness, ill will, and so on, all of the different negative mind states will not occur. Because that's when we have a problem, is when those things occur. Covetousness, ill will, negativity, competitiveness. That's what brings us problems. Our confusion is created by our own thoughts. Thoughts arise, we get confused by them, and then we become a servant to our own thoughts. And then in that state, it's like our power, our real capacity and power, it gets lost. We lose trust. We're unable to really trust. And we're unable to access our innate capacity and power. And what then are we living within? We're living within a cycle of hope and fear. Just hope and fear. And so all of that comes because we don't actually understand what we are. We don't understand ourselves. We don't understand what we truly are. And that confusion is based on our own thoughts. It's our own thoughts that confuse us. And so if we can overcome that, then we can begin to relate with the openness inside of us, which is like the sky. The openness in us like the sky. And we can understand that samsaric perceptions are just like clouds moving through the sky, like the stars and planets and the clouds in space. And when we can bring compassion and stimulate our wholesome intentions, stimulate qualities like trust, like faith, like pure perception, then we will have basically no problems. Or whatever problems do occur will actually only bring us more bliss and happiness.
띵가서 검 자기 랍 되니 가리적으로 다지 검 마치야 다가서 흘러라고 그래도 다 때려지는 가서 신이 다 신에다 한도 다검 릭자만 여러 하다 강다 쓴데마 시바다 야부도 용량 치도 지거로 야다 검 뭔지 흘러들 내서 야부 보기도 검 넘나고 컴지지 된 거래 제네 수수기 직 섬누즈 땅으로 컴지된 그 랑중 가르레샤 최 탐지지 뭐 가르레샤 니루 가르레샤 랑기 세미 니루 가르레샤 딩가나마 르레 대세나 당원에 시바카는 줘야 돼. 탑 약수지로 봐. 다시 다저라고 지 류센잠기 달르르라고 대야기 맞아 거미직 망보여리 때 당진다 진진라 만네나 되니 고마지야지 니 용야다 칭와다 거와다 되는지 가득이나다지 심디 장보다 장보 랍침부지 용능이면도 통화로 마지야 레와침보 도보 검라나 제 이브카도 하다마다 고미야서르데 님바지레야서르데 서로와지레야서르데 섬단데나 안지 셰샤다 아마다 통야 미기 통야 암조 코야라고 섬노다나 디 참말로와 디 컴퓨터니 제용도 가서 고야면도 다 백년바라고 차트 디 검데 가서 이제 파 육종 지하 백갈에 가버리시 아니 거 다 강이 지디 양이 강이 가래도 진단 가래샤 강이 모 가래샤 남바 가래샤 잡종 가래샤 낭추라 가래샤 니추 가래샤 야고 섬다나 시럽 표시 당으로 와 강이 참아 시루 그랬어 아 라인 강이 진바나지 유텔에 요 말에 다가랑 시루도 아니 셈제 담지네 서로 동행라 닝제 랑 진류를 빼lên 랑 동의 용도 집어요 말에 가서로 대화를 거기로 와 테니 지 동의기 로노지 가서로 낭수 통용도 아직 kodning jibo yo mare ko lusim chugure ne karzora da nangme chugure da kare na chama manje gare aka ningje chenyazi ko lo no ne leyung gro 제가 랑이 룰을 뺄래시 레시 서로가 대화 서로가 동의를 아니 디마 매와세 탑데 랑이 룰가네 마초가 대화디 야제다 동의디 마 칼레 좀 받지 데저 쩐통 저 쩐통도 데는 디파 낭미 네 디바 젠라 창마 지와이나 디로데 줄라 네바체 데네 오네 자네 꿀라 튠바시 시럽 꿀라 펜바시 아니 수수수수라 이치 연거와 안데 빼자친 거래도
네.
아니 서서 집어대나 미마무냠도 드러나 내가 저와 같이 와이나 스만난다 심 갈랑랑 고양양 심네 심마시오 심라니네 요새와세 디 상당시 체 강달 나서 거래 내가 시고 그랬어 싫어 표시단 또데 그래 표시단은 제공 요금다 곰 짜침부 뭐지 제도 싫어 표시마다는 곰 뭐지 국바 랑 국바 렘바 저 되니 시당 대사 제 남도 제 칼에 용으로
Awesome. So I think you asked a little bit about practice, meditation. So, most meditation that's done, we could say falls into the category of relaxation. It's a form of relaxation. People might call it shamatha, they might call it vipassana. There's many different styles of meditation. But in the end, they're searching for peace. And it's a temporary resting place. And so I think it's important to think about this because, like, the word gom or meditate in Tibetan means habituate. It means familiarizing with something, creating a habit. So what are we creating a habit to? What are we creating? What are we familiarizing with? We should think about that when we practice meditation. Because, we should be asking questions. What is the nature of all phenomena? What is the underlying nature? What is the actual nature? What is the essence of my mind? This is the question we should be asking. Otherwise, we're just relaxing. We're just relaxing and we're not doing anything to diminish our habit of concretizing the sense of self and then cherishing and becoming self-centered around that sense of self. And we get basically caught up in dullness or agitation. And there's not really a lot of blessings involved in that form of practice. The mind just getting caught up in like, oh, today I'm meditating on this color. Oh, tomorrow I'm going to meditate on that shade. Oh, hoping for some kind of special feeling or hoping for special power. Practicing like that. Focusing, oh, I'm going to focus on sound. I'm going to focus on taste. I'm going to focus on sensation. I'm going to focus on a form. If we just want to play around with forms and sounds, well, they have a computer generate that. This kind of thing's making us crazy almost. So what we need to do is focus on our actual problems. We have to focus on what's causing us problems, where our problems come from. Our problems come from clinging. They come from grasping and fixating. So we have to be curious about this. We have to ask the question, what is my problem? How am I clinging? how are things appearing to me, and how are they really? How are things actually, and how am I perceiving them? We have to use our insight. We have to use our prajna or insight. That's what's most important. And we have to see the way I cling to things is not how they actually are. We have to come to see that. And seeing that, we have to also then think about all other beings and feel a sense of compassion and sympathy for them. Every being, no matter who they are, wants their own happiness within themselves. But not knowing the difference between how things appear and what the truth of things are, then their bodies and minds are confused. Their way of thinking is confused. And seeing that, we have to say, oh, wow. And really feel a sense of sympathy and compassion. That will come because they're just caught up endlessly in pleasure and pain. In pleasure and pain. In fact, we need to learn how to increase our happiness and how to minimize our suffering. We have to study this. And the main thing we have to do is start to see our own faults. We have to see where the fault lies, where our what mistake we're making in this. And, you know, the same kind of, this is what we need this kind of wisdom and love is what we need for a family to flourish. And we need a kind of wisdom that is in harmony with everyone. Our insight should be an insight that harmonizes with everybody else. And also trusting ourselves is so important, coming to trust ourselves. So we need to create openness. Just like the nature of our mind is luminous. It's luminosity. So the point here is that we need to activate our innate insight, our prajna. That is the main point here. We have to use and activate our own insight or prajna. Then there are many amazing kinds of meditation, analytic forms of meditation, investigating. There's also resting forms of meditation. In both cases, we need them to be based in prajna or insight. Otherwise, our meditation is just a resting place, just a temporary rest. And then our thoughts will come back and they'll make all kinds of problems for us.
Rinpoche, thank you.
So,
I think we go straight to our audience has some questions for you, Rinpoche.
okay, yes.
Okay, we'll go straight to audience. So online, if you're online, you can ask Q&As in the Q&A panel. And I'll get them and I'll ask them. But we'll do some questions here first. Oh, we got lots. Wow.
Oh.
So I'm afraid we won't get to all, but we try some.
Yeah.
So maybe in person here. So maybe if we could have hands raised, if anyone here wants to ask a question, we have someone right at the back.
Thank you, Rinpoche. I have a question about, for those of us who have a connection with dreaming, with dream practices, can you talk a little bit to us about what dreaming is for, how we should relate to what we witness there, what we see there, what's revealed there, and how we can use our dream practice to benefit others?
밀람기 코다레스는 그래서 나네 카시지 밀람기 나저 체크투스 그다음에 바르스 감라고 yapıyoruz. Orangi 추었으나 컨제스트 밀람 무즈냐다 아니 밀람 하코야다 아니 밀람 라테니 셴페빌레가 컨제스트 제거레스.
라스타 니남데 데자 나서다 데자양 참원더와 밀람 야고 유냐라 다 지단기 진벤세 가르신 데스깔에 가오레 마마니 제라데니 게벨로 야고 지제니 니야디 다 개체주들이 이제 냠레랑데 아니지 뭐네 야 니세는 냠내제나 시라 표시당 닌지 표시당 되니 쇠베 냠내 콘드님이 안 되지는 야 그래 아니 만남나랑라 표시 페레지나 맞아 밀람나 릭 뭐보여래 니세 니티 단다랑 가서 밀람으로 와 밀람랑 돼 제
Asa. Really.
시티 다 니티 다 드니 여세 니람 다 셰바 차라 니츠는 시고는 단다랑 니람이 니츠랑 리더와 대인산 지당 용자 니츠는 지고는 니람 많이가라 뭐 semya고 게빌로 제 니야데마도 데스칼레 가고 페지레스 아니 야면은 다 중앙 팀지민만에 아니 라마냐니 제다 최고래 때마도 소지고 제토 말레스 질레 아니 가서 니지 아니 디본게 줍체나 야 그래 니가 디본게 줍 소소 예
Oh,
니
lasso. Lasso. Mitsil. Lasso. Lasso. Yeah, actually, the dream subject of dreams is quite subtle. It's a very subtle area of experience. For dream, for dream practice to go very well to the point where it can truly benefit others is quite difficult. Actually, this is not a small thing. So I recommend that in general, before you go to sleep, generating a very virtuous mind state is what I recommend first and foremost. The actual practice in dream states of consciousness is very subtle. So I think what's most important in general is to actually work on when we're awake. And when we're awake, we can activate our innate prajna or insight, compassion, and reflect on what are the benefits of patience, what are the drawbacks of anger and aversion, and get really clear on that. There's many ways of practicing with dreams, many different sort of levels, but in a larger sense, understanding what a dream is, because in fact, this is a dream also. This is a dream. And in terms of dream practices, there are many different kinds of dimensions in the dream. There's working with dream appearances. There's recognizing the nature of the dream, becoming lucid. There's the clear light that can be recognized within the dream state. There's actually many different subtle levels within dream practice. So if we're just talking about kind of ordinary dreams in a more ordinary sense, I think that the most important thing is before we go to sleep, generate a virtuous intention, virtuous mind state before you go to sleep. Otherwise, it's a little bit difficult to really do proper dream practice, like working with the dissolution of the elements is an aspect of it. But I feel like that really should be done under the guidance of a good teacher or a lama. You won't necessarily be able to do it on your own. And I think mainly the most important thing is when you're awake, to try to give up negativity and do as much virtue as possible.
So we have one from the online.
그래서
So Rinpoche, can you share with us a little about your connection with the great Fifth Dalai Lama? Many people are asking this.
Just ani Jawa ngapa, Jawa chimbo ngapa, ani Khandro like Jawa, and Jawa ngapa ki Jawa, or just so announce.
저한가보다 제가 매번 생제해지 말이야. 나시 타고서 좀 봐주셔도.
But I don't think there was any sentient being that the great fifth Dalai Lama did not have a connection to. Because he saw all that appears and exists as only pure wisdom. So he was connected with all beings.
아니, 단 나랑 저래나 저왕아베지. 데니 자침보지 상원 자신 디즈디. 다 레다 melang이 저와 몽보드지. 레다 단도스.
In my own case, I do have, I think, a lot of sort of connection or interdependence with the secret sealed teachings of the fifth Dalai Lama through karmic connections and the connections born of aspirations.
녀지 표지 최다 찹시 강요 맛이 갑라 아니 오늘 전에 최대 자침보 님바다 아니 최대마 저와 인우랑기 들어오는 명아마 송고여스 송네 애는가라 당화정모 투모마이와 난 따디 빼미시 케침베 점제 뭐지 송송 따디 소녀데야 믹세데나 다지 망해와다고 된데레샤
So when I was very young,
시가제 다시는 뭐 시가제
when I was very young, still in Tibet, before I really knew anything about politics, society, or Dharma even, I had this great sense of how important and profound the Dharma really was, and specifically was instructed to receive teachings directly from His Holiness the Dalai Lama about Fifth Dalai Lama teachings, and kind of received many, many instructions, but the source of the instructions is hard to pin down.
아니 네 최대 자침보 인비 좀 된다. 내는 네단 잠을이나 왕명은 거야 이게 템바제다 치자 샘진질 그냥 몽로 뭐가 용수 저거라도 틸러파비 자침보 인추다. 내는지 다스수기 가져로 추레 나라더니 요 최송대들이 내는지 다 된데 진 내 자침보 인비 좀 된 토네 다다버들라 나랑이 가진 친구지 깔래 친구잖니 왕명은 참 야야지 다 점제 뭐지学语 and registrings.
So I think these teachings, the propagation of these teachings, the empowerments, the transmissions, and the oral instructions, and the upholding them through practice is said to be extremely beneficial for this time period, and protecting beings, protecting the planet, and for the Dharma to flourish. And so that time has come, and it was prophesized that way as well. And so I personally feel these are very, very precious. I've received all of these empowerments and transmissions and instructions, and I've put a lot of effort into it to sustain these, to protect and preserve these, and now to spread these. So I think that this is a very valuable thing.
왕명은 주의가라. 곡제야 많이 와지 태송이. 되니 까래야 뭐지 잡다 템바단 로알라 페인토야지. 할리비 저도 청게. 되니 파주 성모대 오늘 전에 가르쳐로다. 다 최대 오늘 전에 가지고 다 전주기 쌤 돈이 다와 야홀라나 다 전주기 쌤다 돈이 다와 종저지. 아니 이제 마타비지 코르바데. 아니 다와 용서봐. 야, 샤시 트레지 롱아 예슨 마타와 성마 타과 트레지들이 방화 섬짐이 저와 든지지 레샤 아니 깔레 mamboja 가진이 아니 달로 숨지리나 냠내 디나 제이 고급라서 아니 다디 메시지 파샤다 메시지 렌데라 mambo요 왜지 저도 창이야 아니 mambo 앞에서 난 제장 되는다 맞아 정말 로아리족 생전 탐지 산지지 공부를 무지 토비 치더라 아니 대강 특별히 자치리 메시지 가서 정말로 내가 매번 수지에 요 말에 가서 하고 드리면서 정말로 제가 이를 챙겨
Yes. So I think these teachings in this cycle of teachings, the empowerments, the transmissions, and the pith instructions that comprise this cycle of teachings are extremely valuable and profound. Within this, the view of bodhicitta, the view of emptiness, in a completely unified and indivisible way. Those views, bodhicitta and emptiness, in an indivisible way, which then allows what's called impure experience or impure perception, which is our current experience of samsara, to arise as pure wisdom appearances. So samsara itself, the impure phenomena themselves arising as pure wisdom experience, which also teaches us how to purify this impure body, speech, and mind that we have now. And so these kinds of pith instructions are part of this. So I feel like it's extremely profound and powerful teachings contained in this. And I myself have went through many struggles to be able to receive this. And I'm incredibly joyful that I was able to receive this. And I've been practicing it for 30 years, continuously, since I received it. So I feel like, this could be very helpful for many beings, and with the motivation that all beings slowly work their way towards full awakening, complete freedom of Buddhahood, then I'm engaging in many efforts to spread these teachings, doing as much as I can. And so that's what I'm doing. And in general, I feel like there's really nobody who's not connected to this. There's nobody who's not connected to the Fifth Dalai Lama's teachings.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Yeah.
We have another question here. And then I wanted to stay connected with Rinpoche's teaching. Khandroling.org is the right place, Evan, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, khandroling.org. We'll put the link in the show notes for everyone. It's there. Okay, good.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Hello? Thank you so much. Earlier, you had mentioned that we can reach a level of realization where obstacles arise as bliss and happiness. My question is, from a taking fruition as path perspective, can you say a little bit more about the role and the importance of bliss, both in our practice and daily life?
Karasere sherapu de chunga kotsena ani kangel junaya dewa in ngola churchogere so ani morang digi chone dang trebu lamdu chepe ngone yang ra trebu lamdu chepa digi ngone yang ani chita ngazo nangbe chula nyamnen chedu dewa sayadi che tempore bes ni kanjes peche pangedus nyamne nanga ani mitse nanga
Rere, soba dewada, peda, kichimburwa. So, dungeda ganyi mare.
Yeah, bliss and happiness are quite important, isn't it? Because suffering is not that much fun.
제가 소바 둥이라야 돼. 주진지 고그러와. 디 주진디 아니 따와 친지로 받아. 좁아 친지로 토니 소바 둥이인 거.
And in terms of suffering or pain, suffering and pain arises because of certain confluence of causes and conditions. And one of the main causes and conditions for that is an incorrect and distorted understanding.
다 소바 대화라야디 따와 친지 마로와다. 좁아 친지 마로와요나. 아니 창말로와 파친 주 세미 지지네 냠네 지시로와 대화 용당 된지리.
And in terms of like happiness and pleasure or bliss, those result from an undistorted view or understanding and undistorted conduct. And so with the undistorted view and an undistorted conduct, then everything can arise within the context of the 6 paramitas and the 4 immeasurables, and everything can arise as as bliss and happiness.
더차 셰당 낙셈 내심 록다 차도 라야디 아저 당도 라야지 말이 딩욕다 저거 딩아 집어요 말이 저 동네 용서 데려와
So, craving, aversion, covetousness, aggression, ill will, wrong views, misunderstandings, jealousy. These aren't things that we should seek to practice and take up. These lead to pain. They cause our self-suffering, and we need to see them as the mistakes that they are.
탁삼 닝제 저바 아니 쌈데 아니 심코 양보 정보 라야디 저거 대화에 차지리
And wholesome intentions, compassion, openness in our mind, trust, goodwill. These are the conditions that ripen into bliss, joy, and happiness in our minds.
대점이
That's pretty much like that.
So Rinpoche, we have another online question. Rinpoche talked about the spiritual life and our normal life not being so separate. So they were asking, the Buddha left the palace to go to the spiritual life. So how can we balance our normal life with our spiritual life? How to bring these together?
And Khandro Rinpoche karisegere mitse dan che ati garingbo shago mares ra denzo patsune garingbo shago mares so hongi chuasana ni sanje shakyatupadi how to say pochang ne person ra chuson pochang ne chesan kongi ani tati tengsan nazo mitse na kanjes nangshit Juporeves. Nyamdo.
당가서 다자지 덤버름 부채이나 장된당 애들이 중국 거야지 남자 뭐부터 열었어
So our extraordinary precious teacher, the Buddha, taught in so many different ways and so many different dimensions. And some of these teachings include the conventional provisional truth, provisional meaning, and some relate to the deeper ultimate meaning.
강다로 니동아 제콩라 공기 아니 자 첨보니 연준데 아니 띵중기 대 코나니 디기 토네 뉴모기 직 자와니 메바서 토려 뉴몬데 자와니 메바서 토베나 동에 이 자와 메바서 토베기 아니 세마리 발라바이난다 모이니지 때나 봐야 돼 할레비지 치리 난다 토슈지 차거레스
So we could say that 2,500 years ago, the Buddha did something very valuable and precious. He discovered this principle of dependent origination. And through discovering dependent origination, he was able to completely render evident the suchness or the true nature as it is. And so by doing that, by revealing the suchness of the truth as it is, he was able to completely remove afflictive emotions or kleshas from the root. By completely removing kleshas or afflictive emotions from the root, he was able to completely eliminate suffering from the very, very root. This was like a scientific discovery. This was like a logical, bringing logic to its absolute pinnacle. It's like the most deepest and amazing discovery that the human logical mind can make.
데니 근접데 메송아 마임바 오늘 전에 땡지 제바 데 메송아 마임바 아니 동바 땡중 동베 되 니츠응아네 셰샤 티기 때네 데뚝 용수 저거 디응네 샤주여바 인장 아니 투베 초게 안지 가르주거다 공바 라나메바데 아니 제나 펜바 바시 아니 yin tunda, yin tunda mado, me was so mandos. Maso, and Rangde Janjang, Jenny, they were dripped. Toba Jende Janjang, dripped, they were so in, and the cat chongani the curry, Kazoroda, ta Silani, Jimzen to us. Rangde Janjang Sina, then they were in Yevaina, Chim chooks and roads. 아니 젠데 바지 치바이나 아니 마뇽이 토네나 뒤이 치바이나라 데니 젠데 라나 메바지 치바이나 아니 치발라나 메바 님발라나 메바 자발라나 메바데 아니 다자 있던 발라 총화 인장 딩가 솔라 마 다랑 마 마수기 아니 스미 장지네 아니 베 치발라나 메바데 님발라나 메바 자발라나 메바데 시샤 꿀라 예데바디 하호와치 딩문데 줄 데니 대화 마지 용기도 랑 마제 심지 탐지니 땐도 대화 넘버 근도 대화 마지 동의 용기 말했으니 다고 맞아 띵중이 되고는 송낭도 왔어 근데 세릭 뭐니 주제마도 맞으기 가르치고 다 남바 산지 봐줘니 지 초지기 에 나네 지야 지고 레미도 동의 만들어 대화 되봐지 서로 여도 좀 심지 참말라 동의기 아니 빵주요 봐 빵당 아니 대화 줍주요 봐 줍당 니가비 대화 타투기 대화 아니 남체지 라나메비 공방 날리드나라 타링 보면 봐 랑기 심기 랑중 니룩데 또 송아이나 넘버 치바데 하고 송아이나 아니 뇽목이 똑소 용수서 봐 식도 드나라 되니 가르르다 고 침발라는 메바지 차용 거로 데니 제발라는 메와 실라네 랑다 징꾸라 아니 투지 심비 정도라 심지 탐지 튼들라 데니제 투 라는 메바 제바 인자네 아 님발라는 메바 단다 이나다 정말로이지 나서 자침보 진의 것들이 주기모 트라이모 티모 그게 말이 돈이인지 랑랑지라 자침보 제시송도아 다자 있던 것들이 돈이인지 랑랑 죽샷대와지 대양 강야 롱알라 심지 컴다 메바 강야 롱알라 또 님바다 아니 가르주로다지 곤tun줍수 요대바데 아니 제발라나 메바디기 님발라 템 용디고 여러봐 세상 딩가서 뒤도 넘버 근도 냠도다지 다고 젬베티 제야되다 개침보 진자 다른 뭐 산지 좀 된데라 다른 뭐요 말이스
Yes.
지드나 네 지 tenji lama rangjung she se la go ro tenji
Jeez.
제가 ngaso dirisha so jen da ji khare phe khare sung sanji ji di ramanda dirina 가지고 다가서 공부때 두고 말아
Yes.
강 중화데 렁아 있음디 참벌칼라 드트비아 당 예멘 칼라 드트나 산지 정빈디 다 녀 차드라
So this discovery, say this is working. The best form of the culmination of inner science, the greatest discovery of inner science, so to speak, did not involve destroying the relative truth or getting rid of relative appearances. It was not like that. In fact, rather, it led to perfect understanding of interdependence, which includes the understanding that emptiness is interdependence. Relying on emptiness, there is interdependence. Relying on interdependence, there is emptiness. Interdependence is emptiness, and emptiness is interdependence. And within that understanding, then we can see how all happiness and suffering comes to appear. So the greatest amongst the great realized ones, the Buddha, had this, based on that realization, had a sort of unsurpassable intention, an unsurpassable mind state and intention, which involved only wishing to benefit others, exclusively wishing to benefit others. We think about ourselves, however, we mostly exclusively wish to benefit ourselves. And within the confines of such an attitude of exclusively wishing to benefit ourselves, then the amount of bliss and happiness that we're able to experience is just a tiny, small amount, tiny little fraction. But if we can shift that intention from only mainly or exclusively wishing to benefit ourselves to mainly or even exclusively wishing to benefit others, then we can start to fathom the possibility of unsurpassable wisdom knowing, unsurpassable love, and unsurpassable power, which is in fact the definition of the Buddha's qualities, these three dimensions. But we as well, so, when it comes to rooted in our experience, we as well can strive for that unsurpassable wisdom knowing, unsurpassable love, and unsurpassable power or capacity. And it comes from wishing for happiness, not just for ourselves, but for all beings. And with the wish that all beings attain happiness, and then bringing forth, along with that wish, a deep understanding of dependent origination, which is the same as a deep understanding of suchness, the way things truly are. That is the culmination of, we could say, inner science, the true discovery of inner science. So this is not something that is sectarian and only belongs to Buddhists or something. It's not something that is in any way even biased towards Buddhists at anyone else's expense. This is something that belongs and is the providence of all people, all beings, in fact. Because then through it, we come to understand how all beings' suffering can be released and all beings' happiness can be actualized. And so this unsurpassable level that the Buddha revealed is actually in our own mind. It is, in fact, the nature of our very own mind. And through training in this way, our own afflictive emotions and our own concepts and thoughts can resolve, can vanish. And then in their wake, this unsurpassable wisdom knowing can be expressed. So that's the aspect of unsurpassable wisdom knowing. And then the aspect of unsurpassable love. It comes when the expressive, compassionate energy held within our own nature expresses itself towards all beings in the form of compassion. And that's the aspect of unsurpassable love. And then in terms of unsurpassable power or capacity, unsurpassable power or capacity isn't related to, visible forms and manipulating sounds and smells and tastes and touches, the ordinary common experiences we have through our sense organs. Unsurpassable power and capacity comes through the union of emptiness and compassion. And so within the Buddha's realization, then the Buddha was able to understand the minds of all sentient beings, and in that understanding, teach them. He had the power to instruct them. That's unsurpassable power and capacity. And it spontaneously arose. Because of his unsurpassable love, his unsurpassable power and capacity spontaneously expressed itself. So, in brief, if we always keep a wish to benefit others, then Buddhahood, the Buddha, so to speak, will not be far away from us. There's a famous quote that says, "You should know that the ultimate guru exists in your own awareness." So by some other methods or some other approaches, I'm not sure what you'll get. But I can say for sure that if you stick with a profound honesty in your own mind and a wish to truly benefit others, that you will be close to the Buddha.
That's better than Jitembani Lads.
That's all.
Also,
So, for example, we talk about the ground as the two truths. These two truths were not created by any kind of God or religious figure. It's just the nature of how things are. There's the relative appearances and the underlying ultimate truth. The relative truth is what we see, what we experience directly. Right? The good, the bad, everything we construe as good and bad, it's just that. And the ultimate truth is that experience itself's nature, the underlying true essence or nature of that, just what we ordinarily experience as good and bad, its nature. It's not some other thing. So the And so what the Buddha taught was based on those two truths as the foundation. He articulated, he taught the path, and the path is skillful means and wisdom or insight. The insight reveals the aspect of emptiness, and the skillful means works to generate compassion. And so through emptiness and compassion, or skillful means and wisdom, he taught the path. And the result of that path is called the two kayas of awakening, the Dharma kaya and the form kayas. So if we think about ourselves, our ground is also the two truths, but the path we've chosen is the path of clinging to our sense of self and then cherishing that sense of self. That's our path, self-clinging and self-cherishing. And the result of that path, the result is wandering endlessly in the 6 classes of beings. So if we really look at them directly and honestly, it's kind of an extraordinary situation we're in, isn't it? You know, this teaching, the ground of the two truths, the path of skillful means and wisdom, the result that comes from that path of the two kayas of awakening, the Dharma kaya and the form kayas, this is really something extraordinary, and really something totally extraordinary. So if we can understand the value of it, see how much good fortune we have to just have a human form, a precious human mind and body, to have met the Dharma, to have met authentic teachers, received the teachings, have some kind of interest in the teachings. What incredible good fortune this actually is. And then, you know, take up that good fortune and consider our current situation as one of poverty. It's like we are impoverished, our current state. And so, you know, seeing that clearly and wanting, you know, the best thing we can have is those teachings and the ability to follow those teachings. And so it's like being in an impoverished state and receiving a windfall. That's our current state.
Sanjay, thank you. You opened with such a beautiful motivation. Can you close this nice session with a dedication, please?
Taji ngane tuchenang the sangini kaparesani ngazo gosuta sana ni kanjalagi ngazo kumo shayadi ni chesang tantati tutsu zonson ani ngazo nyamdu kissing ngazo ngoa
맞아.
chitogrebes.
라리라리 내가 저 대상 말로 왔다. 전주 셈도니다와 이제 드링 집이 한가서지 딕바 탄로고리 되게 개와 펜로고리 대송자 한가서 딘리기 펜 대양 되게 저와 도지상 정권 인진도 제비 된지 집에 담바 잠블링나 펜도 진인지 아니 강사 리스 줘봐 그새 샤베 대양 당 아니 지지 제야 아니 심지어 탐지 심장 잠들 몸이 체리 아니 멍두 목에 상 시네 아니 sembasambu chanju semdang yang tabe tawala 아니 줄지야지 이가 좀 같으면 제고
Yes. And so, being here today, we can make the following dedication and aspiration prayers. And so this time together, which we've spent discussing these topics of emptiness and bodhicitta, which is a truly meaningful thing to discuss. And we've also discussed how to reduce suffering and pain, reduce our faults, and increase happiness and joy, increase our good quality, our virtue. So all of this meaningful discussion and consideration we can dedicate to, first of all, to His Holiness, wish-fulfilling jewel, the Dalai Lama, and all other such extraordinary beings who work to protect others, to help others, to spread the truth in the world. May their lives be long, may their health be strong, and may their aspirations be successful. In addition to that, can dedicate the merit to the reduction of poverty, illness, natural disasters, and conflict in the world, and that clarity, wisdom, and love arise in the minds of all sentient beings. And so we can make this aspiration and dedication together.
chanju simyo rinpoche maje bana je je jewa nyamba me ba kone kondo bebar shu doni dawa rinpoche maje bana je jewa nyamba me ba kone kondo pebar shu jepa tsuden rinpoche maje bana je jewa nyamba me ba kone kondo pebar shu jewa kendo yanda la mandan deme bela lonje Sada lamji yande raksu Dorje changi kumbang yurto shu Kangre rewa gori jengamne Penda dewa mali yoene Jirin ziwa genjin jatsoye Jabe sidi fardo tenjuru je Pama semjen tamje Dedan tenju je ngendro tamje tato donwan chanju semba kana sujo Deda kunje manandu je. Thank you.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you.